Hello, my name is HQ of HQ Reacts. Welcome to my channel. Please do me a favor. Hit the like button, share the stream, and click the notification button for new content.
Hello, people. Today we come together with some good information. We come together with some stats. Today I want to pull back the curtain with regard to the segment that Steven Crowder did at his recent barbershop video, right? Where he cited some statistics that simply do not add up with the publicly available data. Given Crowder's performance and his reputation, right? Hello. Given his performance, his reputation, the things he knows, his platform, I think it's reasonable to assume that he needed to hold himself at a higher standard. He either failed to do his homework or he knowingly passed off erroneous numbers. Either way, we owe our audience, my audience, the truth about it, because I played his video and I listened to his stats. Okay? I listened to his stats, right? And I didn't give him any pushback on those stats. See, here's the thing. Media Man is going to walk you through some alternative verified facts. You're going to walk through those. And you can decide whether Crowder's claims match up or Crowder was lying. Okay? So we're going to do that, and we're going to present this video right now, and he debunks this data. Okay? I don't have any data. I don't have any stats. But this person called Media Man went up against the stats. And this is what he found. And he's normally known for someone who does stats, who likes the numbers, who likes to come up with the numbers. So we're going to listen.
Who is tired of watching weaponized statistics flatten our humanity and justify fear. I'm not making this video to beg anyone to see black men and women as safe or to make you feel comfortable. I'm making this video so the facts are on the record. You can believe whatever you want about us, but what you can't do is hide behind junk statistics and fear scripts. And to the pundits who walk into black spaces with a pocket full of viral numbers and a camera, do your homework. Learn the difference between arrests and convictions, between solved and unsolved, between intraracial and interracial. If you won't, expect a response, expect receipts, expect your fatigue narrative to face a mirror. Because if cherry picking is your weapon, it cuts both ways. We're done debating propaganda. We're here to teach people how to read the numbers for themselves so they can stop being played, especially in the black community. I'll extend grace for ignorance if you simply haven't had time to look up the data. But once the receipts are on the table and you keep defending a falsehood, that's not ignorance anymore. That's a choice. Today, we're going to fact check a set of viral claims featured by Steven Crowder and echoed across social media. And we're going to teach you all how to read crime data so you never get hustled by them again. And let me say this as loudly as possible. One loss of life is too many. Nothing here minimizes harm. This is about how numbers are used to tell a dishonest story. Now, let's talk about where that 13%, 50% stat really comes from. The number, 13% of the population committing 50% of the murders, has been repeated so often that it feels factual. But the truth is simpler and more responsible. It is a misreading of law enforcement reporting tables. The figure comes from the FBI's uniform crime reports and supplemental homicide reports.
Hello, my name is Tim Ferguson, Assistant Director of the FBI's Criminal Justice Information Services Division. The FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program, or UCR program, is proud to release monthly crime data on the FBI's Crime Data Explorer, also known as the CDE. You will no longer have to wait 1 year to view updated data. The FBI's UCR program will publish data received from participating law enforcement agencies every month. This includes data updates and revisions submitted by agencies. These changes allow you to view timely crime data and support law enforcement in data-driven decision-making. On the other hand, the annual publication uses reported data and standard estimation procedures to provide a view of all agencies across the country. Because not all law enforcement agencies submit a complete 12 months of data, the FBI includes reported data and standard estimated data for a national presentation of crime in the annual report. It uses the reported data from agencies that submit 12 months of data and then estimates the amount of crime for any agency that does not submit 12 complete months of data. Agencies that submit 3 to 11 months of crime data have their missing months estimated based on the data they have provided. Agencies submitting less than 3 months of data are estimated by using the data from agencies in the state that are similar in population size and geographic location and are covered by the same type of police agency, such as a local police department or sheriff's office. Thus, estimates look at 12 months of data for all agencies across the country.
So if they look at data from all estimates across the country, that basically means, and he said some people do not report. Basically what he's saying is the ones that do report maybe not all of the data. They report accurate data, but they do not report all of the data cannot be reported, or like, I don't know, red states may only report 6 months and the other may report 1 year. It's just not a complete set. So someone saying 13% take care of the 50% of the crime can't be a correct narrative, but they'll explain.
It is important to understand the trend on the CDE relies solely on reported data, while the annual publication uses estimations to account for the entire country. As more agencies...
And on top of the fact that 13%, 50% of the crimes, those are arrests. Those are not convictions. And people don't make that distinction. So, hey,
voluntarily submit their completed monthly data. Any difference between the two...
That's why it's a wrong statistic, Gordon.
...trends will diminish. The FBI's UCR program is grateful to all agencies that voluntarily provide their data to us. Their participation allows our annual report to cover more than 94% of the population of the United States.
Those documents show arrests and known offenders in solved cases, not total crimes, not convictions, and certainly not racial predisposition.
When people quote the FBI's national crime numbers, they rarely explain how those numbers are actually collected. In the United States, there are about 18,000 law enforcement agencies. Roughly 16,300 of them are enrolled in the FBI's crime reporting system, but only about 85% actually submit usable data. That means around 15% of agencies, mostly small rural departments that serve majority white areas, do not report at all. Even though the agencies that do report cover roughly 94% of the U.S. population, the coverage is not even. Urban departments, which serve larger black populations, report far more completely and consistently than suburban or rural departments, which are overwhelmingly white and underreported. So when you hear statistics claiming that black men commit half of all homicides, remember, those figures are built primarily from cities that send their data, not from the rural white jurisdictions that often don't. In other words, the difference isn't in behavior, it's in who gets counted. And here's the second layer of misunderstanding. The FBI doesn't track convictions, it only tracks arrests and reported incidents. Once someone is arrested or labeled a known offender, that number goes into the database, even if the case is later dropped or the person is proven innocent. The Department of Justice and the Bureau of Justice Statistics handle conviction data separately, and those numbers are never the same. So when a pundit says black men commit 50% of homicides, they're really citing arrest data from the agencies that reported, not confirmed convictions nationwide. It's not a measure of guilt, it's a measure of who gets policed, who gets arrested, and which agencies actually send their numbers to Washington.
Each year, roughly half of the United States homicides remain unsolved. And in those unsolved cases, the offender's race is unknown. Yet commentators compare only the solved portion to the entire U.S. population. That's invalid. Solved cases reflect where law enforcement resources and attention are concentrated, primarily in urban centers with large Black populations. This creates what criminologists call a clearance bias. It means the visible share of Black arrests is inflated by geography and policing intensity, not by behavior. That is how statistical artifact evolves into national talking points. Let's correct the record. The population reality is that Black men make up approximately 7 to 7.5% of the United States population, not 13%. An arrest is an allegation, not a verdict. And urban departments have higher clearance rates because they receive more resources and report data more consistently. Roughly 80% of white victims are harmed by white offenders. About 90% of Black victims are harmed by Black offenders. So when commentators imply that Black men are systemically targeting white citizens,
white people are 12 times as likely to be killed by a Black person than the other way around. I'm just going to shoot you straight. It's not even close.
they are not citing evidence. They are perpetuating a myth.
Straight from the FBI's own expanded homicide data, Table 6 for 2022. Out of all recorded homicides that year, there were 504 white victims killed by Black offenders and 114 Black victims killed by white offenders. That's a difference of about 4.4 times, not 12. And here's what Crowder leaves out entirely. More than 80% of all murders are intraracial. That means most white people are killed by other white people, and most Black people are killed by other Black people. So the 12 times talking point isn't just wrong. It's designed to inflame racial fear instead of addressing violence where it actually happens, within communities themselves. Don't let people twist the numbers. The facts are public, and they tell a very different story.
And to go a little further, there are about 23.2 million Black men and boys in the United States. Even if every homicide in a given year were committed by Black men, which is false, it would still represent less than 0.1% of the Black male population. Among men aged 18 to 34, the demographic most associated with violence, fewer than 0.3% commit a homicide in the year. That means 99.7% do not. And within that number, those are fathers, service members, entrepreneurs, professionals, married men, and the majority rarely depicted when the narrative turns to crime. So again, violence is not racial, it is demographic. Across every ethnic group, offending rates peak among young men in their late teens and 20s. When we control for age, poverty, and neighborhood conditions, racial disparities shrink dramatically. What many people call race in these discussions is often just a proxy for exposure to disadvantage. And let's not forget, according to the National Registry of Exonerations, Black defendants account for more than half of all homicide exonerations in the United States. Even with the subset of people arrested, many were later proven innocent. Those arrests remain in the Black offender column of public debate. But the truth is more complex. If a dataset cannot distinguish between guilt and wrongful conviction, it cannot serve as moral evidence.
And then you look at the average amount of times that someone in this country is arrested before they're brought in for killing, charged with murder. Do you know how many times they're arrested on average before they murder? 11 times.
The average murderer has been arrested 11 times before killing someone. That sounds shocking until you check the actual source. That number didn't come from national data at all. It came from Washington, D.C.'s police chief, Robert Conti, who said the average homicide suspect in D.C. had been arrested about 11 times.
We need to keep violent people in jail. Right now, the average homicide suspect has been arrested 11 times prior to them committing a homicide. That is a problem. That is a problem.
That's a local statistic, not a national one. The Bureau of Justice Statistics national data tells a different story.
Right.
In its Recidivism 2012 update, the median number of prior arrests for all offenders was 9, and that includes every type of crime, not just murder. So when Crowder says the average murderer across America has 11 arrests, that's false. He took a city-level talking point and turned it into a national scare line. The truth? There's no federal data showing that number. Always check the source, because context changes everything.
So if you find yourself asking, why does this myth persist? Because fear sells. Fear drives engagement, engagement drives profit, and profit sustains prejudice. If you convince a nation that one group is inherently dangerous and you can justify surveillance, over-policing, and discrimination as public safety, that is not data, it is deflection.
And our system, 3 strikes in California, right? That was a 3-strike policy. The reason that was changed, it said it was racist. Crime went down in black communities 30%.
Steven Crowder claimed that California's 3 strikes law reduced crime in black communities by 30%. That number is not a measured outcome. It came from a 1994 RAND Corporation projection made before the law was even enforced. RAND's researchers modeled a possible statewide drop of 22 to 34% if the policy were applied perfectly. But real data never matched that forecast. Between 1995 and 1998, California's overall crime rate fell roughly 10%, similar to the national decline that happened everywhere during the same years. Later analyses, including the University of California, Berkeley Punishment and Democracy Study, and reports from the California Legislative Analyst's Office, 2005, found no independent and 30% reduction linked specifically to the law itself. So Crowder's statement confuses a projection with an outcome and inflates the impact by about 3 times.
So now that we've examined how selective statistics are used to portray black men as inherently violent, in Act 2, we turn the mirror around. Because if you insist on calling this black fatigue, then we also must speak honestly about white fatigue, a reality visible in the very data you ignore. Because if you insist on cherry picking individual cases to generalize about an entire group, we can play the same game. And when we do, it becomes clear that what they call black fatigue might just be a projection in order to hide white fatigue. Because the overwhelming share of America's most infamous and most deadly violent offenders, the names etched into the nation's darkest moments, were not black at all. They were white men.
Ted Bundy, executed 1989, charismatic, manipulative, deadly. Ted Bundy confessed to murdering dozens of women across multiple states before his execution in 1989, a reminder that evil often hides in plain sight. John Wayne Gacy, executed 1994, the so-called killer clown. John Wayne Gacy murdered and...
Well, that's the thing. He starts listing all of the crime done on the stat. You could see as I pull it away, it's all of the crime done in white statistics and white communities. We already know. We already know how they spend data. As I stated to you all several weeks ago, the crime statistics there was a whole survey, a whole report done by the Trump administration, a whole report. And that whole report done by the Trump administration said the danger to the community was 77% coming from the right, or more than likely the religious right, young white males, 77%. Okay, and that was from the direction of the right, and the left was a little less than that, percentage or whatever, but it's definitely less than 77%. So we understand where the problem and the pain are coming from. Our stats are just magnified. Of course, we're not saying that they're not doing any of these things. I'm not saying they're not doing any of these things. What I am saying is, if you went into the neighborhoods and you look at poor white communities, just like poor black communities, you would probably have the same issues and the same problems, right? And my whole thing is that we can't deny what we see. We cannot deny what we see. Most of the violence comes from the right, and for some reason it's a religious thing. It may be related to a religious thing. We never know, but 9 times out of 10 it's related to some kind of religious thing. So we understand that there's violence in the neighborhoods. We understand all of that. But what we're saying is the stats that Crowder specified were wrong, because they were simply able to debunk or look at those stats and say, wait a minute, you're inflating these things. And if you're inflating those 1 or 2 stats, then you can be inflating other stuff, right? Nobody's denying anything about violence or anything else. I'm only saying two things. I'm saying the criminal report made by the Trump administration stated that primarily the national violence is coming from the right. Also, there's also crime and criminality in the black communities. Okay? We can also state that. But these high-profile killings, 77% of them come from young white males, right? So we're not going to dispute the facts because we already have the fact. Those are the facts. He's explaining the data points that Crowder put out there that were false. Okay.
In crisis. But that would be dishonest, right? Because the crimes of individuals, no matter how horrific, never define a race. And yet, that is precisely what has been done to black men for generations. For decades, America's fascination with serial killers has been dominated by a very specific archetype: white, male, American. From documentaries to Netflix dramas, the image of the serial killer has always reflected that reality, because the data supports it. If we use Crowder's same argument, the face of crime logic, these would be the faces of white male pathology. But that argument is absurd, because criminality is not racial. It is situational, psychological, and behavioral. That is the exact point.
How did that guy get out after 14 times? George Floyd 9 times. Do you realize 11 times arrested as the average murderer?
And you got Stephen Crowder correctly noted that George Floyd had 9 arrests between 1997 and 2007. That's verified in Houston court records and in a 2020 USA Today fact check. But citing a person's old record in a conversation about national crime rates or policing bias is a distraction, not data. Those arrests have nothing to do with how force was used during his encounter in 2020, and they tell us nothing about broader racial crime statistics. It's accurate biographically, but irrelevant analytically. A classic example of using one man's history to avoid discussing systemic patterns.
I have to stop here on this George Floyd thing because a lot of people ask, why is it that you all burned down cities and had a protest because George Floyd died? The reason wasn't George Floyd. Please, let's stop thinking we did what we did because of George Floyd. People did what they did. People protested, they marched, they came out, BLM, all of those things. They came out because of one person. One person should have told you, all the world, one person should have told you all why we did it. Colin Kaepernick. Does anybody remember Colin Kaepernick? The football player who would kneel at football games. Why he kneeled at football games? He kneeled at football games. It was because he was protesting the killing of black and brown bodies. And no one was doing anything about it. He did it because he was protesting. And this was just another way of saying George Floyd died on camera. And there was a protest because the person who did it may or may not have gotten away with it. Okay? This is the reason why people protested. It wasn't because we love George Floyd. We loved us some George Floyd. We understand the challenges that George Floyd presented. Stop presenting those garbage talking points, Ozzy Crosborn. We don't do obvious bullshit in here. Don't put in talking points where they're lied. Okay? He died because a policeman stood on his neck. And this is what Colin Kaepernick was protesting. This is what we were protesting. This is why we protested, because of his death. Because of George Floyd's death. Had nothing to do with George Floyd. We don't believe you, Ozzy Crosborn. Not here. We don't believe lies.
Selective storytelling distorts the truth. If we extend the same selective logic to sexual offenses and crimes against minors, the trend remains the same. The most infamous and institutionally protected offenders in recent American history were overwhelmingly white and male. Larry Nassar, former USA gymnastics doctor, sentenced to effectively life in prison for sexually abusing hundreds of young athletes. Jerry Sandusky, former Penn State assistant coach, convicted in 2012 of serial child abuse spanning over a decade. Jeffrey Epstein, financier and convicted sexual predator, responsible for the trafficking and abuse of underage girls. Institutional scandals, Catholic clergy abuse investigations, and Boy Scouts of America lawsuits revealed decades of widespread sexual exploitation, often involving white male perpetrators in positions of authority. And according to the U.S. Sentencing Commission, over 77% of federal defendants in child sexual exploitation cases were white men.
Y'all see the stats. Nobody needs to tell you the stats. You can go fact check them. People can go fact check these stats.
And convicted sexual predator, responsible for the trafficking and abuse of underage girls.
Ozzy Crosby, that's a lie, because I looked at 2 police reports and I looked at two autopsies, and that's not what it said. The doctor said he died of asphyxiation. Stop lying about that. Stop lying about that.
Institutional scandals, Catholic clergy abuse investigations, and Boy Scouts of America lawsuits revealed decades of widespread sexual exploitation, often involving white male perpetrators in positions of authority. And according to the U.S. Sentencing Commission, over 77% of federal defendants in child sexual exploitation cases were white men. Bureau of Justice Statistics confirms that most sexual assaults in the United States are intraracial, meaning white women are most often victimized by white men and black women are most often victimized by black men. So, if the fear is really about race and not about race, then statistically, the group most responsible for sexual violence in this country isn't black men, it's white men. And let me remind you guys, ladies, pay attention. About a year ago, a question went viral on social media. Would you rather be alone in the woods with a bear or a man? Thousands of women said they'd rather take their chances with the bear. At first, it sounded like a joke, a meme, until women began explaining why. Many said,
"At least the bear would just kill me. A man, he could do something far worse."
You know what those women were talking about? They were talking about sexual violence, about fearing the possibility of rape more than death itself. Now, that sentiment deserves empathy. It's rooted in trauma, not malice. But when the conversation is twisted online into a narrative about fearing black men in particular, that's when the data becomes essential, because the facts tell a different story. Even though we know that all men and the majority of men do not commit sexual assault, but that's still something to consider if women are telling you that they fear is worse than death. And when you look at the majority of the perpetrators, white men, I'm looking directly at you. So women, be mindful. You understand how white fatigue works now?
It's just not true, man. Violent crime, you just said, like you said, a small percentage of the country, about 12 to 13%, 50% of the violent crime. But the murder, a 12 times likelihood.
That's a skewed stat.
If you just, so you don't listen to them?
No, I said that particular stat is skewed.
It's not skewed. These are from the FBI DOJ.
Steven Crowder claimed that 13% of the population commits 50% of violent crime.
And this is the stat that's most thrown out there. I heard that stat from Charlie Kirk. As soon as I heard that stat, I knew it was a lie. I just had no evidence in order to prove it at that particular time. But the whole point is, we come with facts. Not even possible. 50% of the crime. 7% of the men. And he said, people keep saying, Steven Crowder said 13%. 13% would include all of us women as well. So we already know off the bat that we already know it's not that many. So we're going to throw that 13% stat out. So even if we cut in half to 7%, which is all men, 7% is about men, all men. 7%, the population commits 50% of the crime. Then we go into the 50%. So we knew the 50% was wrong. So Media Man is going to explain why that's wrong.
That's false. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, Black Americans account for about 29% of violent crime offenders and 33% of violent crime arrests, not 50. That's roughly 1/3, not half. Crowder's number exaggerates by about 20 percentage points and usually comes from people misusing homicide arrest data, which covers only a tiny fraction of total violent crime. When you include every category, assault, robbery, sexual violence, and other offenses, the share drops dramatically.
The honest takeaway is simple. Women deserve protection from male violence, and men deserve protection from female violence, not racial profiling disguised as concern.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm trying. Yeah. And I know we're never going to agree on everything. We probably might not agree on anything. That's all right. Problem is,
But at least had a conversation.
Yeah.
At least had a conversation.
There are many white people who mean right and in heart want to do right, but there are so few. If 10,000 rattlesnakes was coming down that aisle now, and I had a door here I could shut, and in that 10,000, 1,000 meant right. 1,000 rattlesnakes didn't want to bite me. I knew they were good. Should I let all these rattlesnakes come down, hoping that 1,000 get together and form a shield? Or should I just close the door and stay safe?
So if we want to have an honest conversation about crime, then we must have the courage to look at all of it, not just the portions that fit one group's agenda.
And you know what else we look at? We look at Roland Fryer from Harvard, who conducted it, black guy, black professor, really respectable guy, honorable man, conducted a study, and he came out and he said, yeah, all of my research says that black men are 0% more likely to be shot by police officers than whites. Black people got so mad at him, he reconducted the study, a black man from Harvard, and he came to the same conclusion, and now he's not black enough.
And then we gathered literally millions and millions of data points on police use of force. Right. And I, again, thought that this was going to show all sorts of bias. What we found was that in the kind of non-lethal uses of force, so pushing someone up against a car or drawing your weapon on them but not arresting them or pushing them on the ground, those types of uses of force, there are large racial differences. There's real racial bias in those uses of force. In fact, just here in New York, a black person during that time was 50% more likely to have force used on them in any given interaction with the police officers. Crazy, right? That was lower level uses of force. But then we also collected data from 16 different cities across the US on lethal use of force.
Lethal use.
The kind of force used on Michael Brown and others. And that's what the protesting really was about. And in those uses of, in those situations, what we found was zero racial differences in police use of force. And that is the part that made people really, really upset, really angry.
Lack of bias made people upset and angry.
Yes, yeah. And in fact, one of the, I talked to a newspaper reporter before the paper was even public, right. And he says, I wouldn't write about this. The first part's obvious and the second part's wrong. What do you do about that? And so we released those results. And look, I'm skipping over a lot of stuff here. I mean, not only did we think we did a rigorous job in the actual analysis, but then we literally, when we got these very surprising results, hired new research assistants, had them do it all over again just to make sure that they were robust.
He goes, look, I was as surprised as you. I was trying to find how much worse it is. My data showed me it's not. He reconducted the study an entire time. Now, he did come to the conclusion.
What he's trying to say is police arrest white people more than they arrest black people. I can sort of see that, seeing as how the white population is 4 times as big as my population, our population, or 3.5 times as big as our population. I could sort of see that, but that's not the step. So let him finish.
An officer is 18 times more likely to be shot than a black man by an officer. This is a black liberal who studies statistics. At what point do you listen to him?
Right, like I was a little worried about, not worried, but I wanted to be sensitive about putting results like this out into the world because they were also counter to my own beliefs.
Steven Crowder claimed that police are 18 times more likely to be shot than to shoot a black man. That's false. Roland Fryer's 2016 Harvard study never found anything close to 18 times. That number doesn't appear anywhere in his paper. What Fryer actually did was analyze officer-involved shootings from just 10 jurisdictions, 3 Texas cities, 6 Florida counties, and Los Angeles County.
All right.
That's 10 total out of roughly 18,000 law enforcement agencies in the United States, which means his data represent about 6/1000ths of 1% of all jurisdictions. Even if you only count municipal police departments, about 12,000 total, it's still less than 1/100th of a percent. So his findings come from less than 1/10 of 1% of U.S. jurisdictions. That's why many researchers and journalists clarify that Fryer's no racial bias in shootings result is not nationally representative. His data are highly localized, drawn from a handful of departments willing to share data, not from all 18,000 agencies nationwide. So when people quote Fryer to say there's no bias or repeat Crowder's 18 times claim, they're spreading a complete internet misquote based on a study that never claimed to represent the entire country.
All right, so we have inaccurate statistics being spouted as facts. You all hit the like button, please, and thank you for the lesson today. Please hit the like button, subscribe button, all of those things. We want to finish our product. We want to finish our data.
So again, let me go over the empirical facts. Black men comprise about 7% of the United States population, not 13%. Over 99% of black men will never commit a homicide. Most violent crime in America is intraracial. People are harmed by those they know and live near.
Just need you to kind of and Steve, when I say this, it's not a challenge, but I got to ask you, you got to tell me these sources where you're getting this 12 times more likely a black man killing a white person. I got to know that, not because it's contradictory, but because I like to have facts. Give me the source.
I'll give them to you. Yeah, when we do it, we always give a QR code where you can see all of them. These are coming from either the FBI or DOJ.
You say
that statement is a lie, and the proof comes directly from his own source. Under his video, Crowder links to an article titled Ben Shapiro, The Left's Favorite Lie, Widespread White on Black Violence, published in the Dispatch, April 21st, 2023. That article cites the 2019 FBI expanded homicide data, and that's the exact source Crowder is referencing. Now here's what that FBI data actually says. In 2019, there were 3,299 white murder victims, and 566, about 17%, were killed by black offenders. That same year, there were 20,906 black murder victims, and 246, about 8%, were killed by white offenders. So when you compare those numbers, that's roughly a 2.3 to 1 difference, not 12. Crowder and Shapiro both took the same 2019 FBI table, twisted it, and presented it as if white people are under siege from black violence. That's not just misleading, that's misquoting federal data. And here's the context they completely leave out. According to the same FBI report, more than 80% of all homicides in America are intraracial. That means most white victims are killed by white offenders, and most black victims are killed by black offenders. Crime happens within communities, not because of race, but because of proximity and environment.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I heard it on different sources. Many sources kept saying, oh, black people. No, we heard from Charlie. Charlie was saying black people prey on white people. They go into the neighborhood and they follow them around and they prey on them. And that's just a lie. That's just a lie. But people believe it. People brought it up. People in other conversations and other podcasts. Oh, black people prey on white people. That's not true. Usually a white person kills a white person and a black person kills a black person. So all of these things, the bulk of what Crowder is saying is a lie. Yet he got 1 million and so views. And people, it just confirmed people's biases about black people, even though none of them did any kind of statistical analysis or anything else. This is what we're doing right here.
So let's be clear. This isn't about defending one group over another. It's about defending the truth. Crowder's 12 times claim is a lie. And the FBI data from 2019, the very link he shared, proves it. If we're going to talk about crime and race in America, we owe people honesty, not headlines designed to divide.
Mass shootings and serial killings are disproportionately committed by white men when measured by per capita impact, scale, and fatality counts. Black defendants represent over half of all homicide exonerations, showing that arrest share exaggerates true offending share. Socioeconomic conditions, not race, are the dominant predictor of violent crime. When you understand these facts, the black crime narrative collapses because it was never about data. It was about maintaining a sense of moral superiority through selective reporting. Why does this imbalance persist? Because fear generates profit. Media outlets know that a story about a black suspect sells better than the one about systemic failure or a white perpetrator. Political commentators understand that the easiest way to mobilize their base is to manufacture danger. Black crime is not a data trend, it's a business model. The truth is this: violence in America is a human problem, not a racial one. And the responsible way to discuss it is by acknowledging the full picture, not just a convenient slice. If we are serious about addressing crime, we need policies rooted in prevention, not prejudice. We need to confront poverty, trauma, lack of education, and the availability of illegal weapons. We need evidence-based strategies, not racially coded sound bites. When we strip the propaganda away, the truth is simple. No race owns crime, no race owns virtue, and no community benefits from fear as its framework. So when someone says black fatigue, ask them exactly what they're tired of. Because if it's the data they want, we have it. If it's context they need, we brought it. And if it's honesty they're afraid of, then maybe that's the fatigue they should be addressing. And just in case you didn't hear me in the beginning, this message is not made to comfort or to appease. It is made to clarify. I am not asking anyone to stop being afraid. Fear is human. I'm asking you to understand what you fear and why. If the data makes you feel uncomfortable, good. That means you're learning. If evidence challenges your assumptions, good. That means you're growing. The real fatigue isn't racial, it's intellectual. I'm tired of people mistaking emotion for evidence and politics for proof. So from this point forward, when someone says black fatigue, remember what you learned here, because the truth has receipts, and now so do we. And we understand that white fatigue is real. So now that I've dismantled the myths and exposed the selective storytelling, it's time to talk about what comes next. Because debunking misinformation isn't the destination. It's the starting line for something bigger: data literacy, social accountability, and public renewal. So if we want to have honest conversations about safety and justice, we need to start by teaching people how to read data. Because a number without a denominator is a weapon.
I swear to God, that's the most important thing. People are intellectually lazy. They don't want to hear about how to go and find stats. They just want to hear what they want to hear. So if you don't like white people, you're going to believe the stats when they talk about white people. And if you don't like black people, you're going to believe the stats that you hear about black. How many people listened to what Steven Crowder said and just took his stuff at face value because they heard the same garbage and nonsense from Charlie Kirk? How many people listen to Charlie Kirk say it over and over and over and over and over again and never did their own research? They just believed what they heard. It's called intellectual laziness. And this is what we have in the United States. We have that in droves. Okay? So I'm saying, okay, you don't believe this person? Then you need to get your own facts. Instead of listening to what Crowder said, instead of listening to what this guy, Medium Man says, listening to what Charlie Kirk said, you need to be doing your own research instead of being out here spouting talking points that don't make sense once you break the numbers down.
A statistic without context is a headline waiting to be misused. Here's how to approach data like an informed citizen. Know your source. Use the FBI's Crime Data Explorer, the Bureau of Justice Statistics, and peer-reviewed research, not social media screenshots. Understand the difference between...
Most of us come from the social media screenshots. Nobody wants to go into the data. Okay. We have to do our own research. Okay. Because when I opened up the stream, people were in here saying, no, he's lying. It's not the truth. I'm not taking his word as law either. I'm not taking anybody's word as law. Unless I've looked it up, I can't explain it to you and I can't say whether it's true or not. I can only present the facts and say, maybe you need to go to the Crime Bureau Statistics, the FBI. Well, if you don't trust the FBI, I don't know who you would be trusting. Donald Trump? Apparently you trust Donald Trump, but you trust him more than the FBI, which is insane to me. That's zombie talk. So anyway, you just go and do your own research. get you about 10 sources, 5 sources, and figure out the truth. You ain't got to believe everything you hear. A lot of people on here believe Charlie Kirk. Everything Charlie Kirk said, they believed him. And the real truth is Charlie Kirk lied about a lot of things. Charlie Kirk, see, this is what I say they lied. Because you got enough money to get somebody to go get the correct stats. Everybody has enough money that's on here that's famous enough can get the correct stats. So when you come on here and you spout what Crowder was spouting, and then we proved that your facts were lies, that meant you came on here to deceive. Charlie went to too many places and had too many people. Charlie Kirk had too many people that worked for him not to have known the true stats. But that didn't go along with the narrative that he wanted to portray. That didn't go along with the narrative that he wanted to give to the young men. And I notice most young men that get on here who are supporters of Charlie Kirk spit those same talking points that Charlie Kirk spit without any kind of pushback, without any kind of research. They just believed everything he said, which was somewhat, most of the stuff he presented were lies.
Between arrests and convictions. An arrest is a moment. A conviction is a conclusion. They are not interchangeable. Account for unsolved cases. You can't build racial claims on incomplete data. Unknown offenders are a statistical void, and they're not neutral. Distinguish intra-racial from interracial patterns. Most violent crime happens within communities, not across them. Geography, not genetics, drives proximity. Examine socioeconomic context. Poverty, unemployment, and education gaps are far better predictors of violence than skin color will ever be. Look for trend lines, not headlines. A one-year spike means nothing without the trajectory. Data literacy begins with time, not Twitter or X. When you as citizens understand these rules, misinformation loses its oxygen. We must rebuild how this nation talks about crime. Instead of assigning moral...
That's the whole point, Osmo God. You're on here telling me that everybody else is a lie except Charlie. That's how I know you're a zombie and you haven't done any research. Because you're on here telling us that everybody else is a lie. The FBI is a lie. Media Man is a lie. I'm a lie. Everybody else, Charlie is the truth. That means you haven't done any research on your own and you're a zombie. I don't believe zombies. Zombies don't have no kind of standing whatsoever. Oh, Mark, your wife has a penis.
Value to skin tone, we should be studying systems. Why are clearance rates so low in certain regions? Why do homicide investigation in rural counties, often majority white, lag far behind cities in...
Don't be mad at me because your wife has a penis.
Closure. Why are resources distributed unevenly when human life carries the same value everywhere? The answer is not race, it's inequity. Until we confront that truth, we will continue mistaking symptoms for causes. And to the journalists, pundits, and creators, this part is simple. If you have a platform, you have a responsibility. Statistics are not props. They are human lives rendered into numbers. When you choose what story...
Oh, okay. So here's the thing. We have to address people in the chat. I already told you, MAGA people, y'all don't stand on nothing. So therefore, you don't bother me. When you don't stand on nothing, you don't bother me. Okay? You stand on nothing. Nothing. So you don't get to me. Y'all hit the like button, please, and thank you. Hit the like button, please, and thank you. You have no integrity. That's why you stand on nothing. Mark, I told you, yet again, your wife has a penis.
Stories to tell and which to ignore shape public perception. If your coverage reinforces fear rather than understanding, you are not reporting, you are recruiting. And to the audience who consume these stories, skepticism is not cynicism. Ask questions.
That's right. Skepticism is not cynicism. So you check every source that comes down the pike. Every source that comes down the pike. Okay? We don't want any kind of we want people to start fact checking things. If they fact check things, then we would have less zombies walking around. Okay? Less zombies. But we continue to have the same zombies report the same information. Mark, why are we crying? You're the one crying about your wife having a penis. I'm not crying about my wife having a penis. You are.
Demand sources. Refuse to let outrage replace accuracy, because democracy is not sustained by feelings. It is sustained by facts. Change doesn't start in the District of Columbia. It starts at the neighborhood level. Every community can take measurable steps to strengthen itself against the narratives that divide us. Education initiatives. Incorporate data literacy and critical thinking workshops in schools, libraries, and community centers. Public health partnerships. Treat violence prevention as health prevention. Address trauma, addiction, and mental health with the same urgency as policing. Economic empowerment. Support entrepreneurship, vocational training, and financial literacy programs that reduce poverty, which is the strongest social determinant of crime. Mentorship and media literacy. Pair young people with mentors who can help them navigate misinformation, stereotypes, and digital manipulation. And lastly, cross-community dialogue. Create spaces where diverse groups can discuss safety and reform grounded in evidence, not emotion. A well-informed public is the strongest defense against propaganda. Accountability must flow in all directions. Yes, individuals who commit crimes must face justice, but so should institutions that manipulate fear for profit. It means
manipulate fear for profit. This is what I think Charlie Kirk did. This is what I think he did. He manipulated the fear of the zombies for profit. I truly believe that. He manipulated the zombies for profit. And most of you guys in here talking about the Democrats, talking about Mark's wife got a peen. She had a big peen. You walk just like Fred Sanford because she be giving it to you for real. Mark's wife with the big peen. Osmos in here talking about facts ain't right. These are not right facts. You lie. I haven't did one thing. I haven't presented one fact in here. I presented another alternative to look at. And you got the zombies in here talking about I'm lying. How is it that I'm lying? And I haven't presented any facts. I've just presented another case. These lies, these stats presented by Charlie Kirk and Steven Crowder are easily debunkable. But seeing as how we have people who keep following him, who followed him, the zombies, I call y'all the zombies. I ain't calling y'all the MAGA people no more. I'm calling you zombies because that's what you are. The zombie people don't do any critical thinking and they don't do the research. So therefore, you come in without facts. The only thing you can say is, hey, she's lying. Unfortunately for you, God, what is it? Is God 1 SGREAT 77? Unfortunately, the tides have turned. Unfortunately, we get all of that. We get the tides have turned. And you're going to be mad. Yeah, we're real clueless, Mark. We're real clueless. Your wife is not clueless with that big pain, but we clueless. So the whole point is do your own research, chat AI, chat GPT, do all of the things, put all of the things into the chat GPT and ask. I even challenge some of you zombies. Put some of the things that Charlie Kirk said into the AI and into the chat GPT and some of the statistics that he quoted. Put them in the chat GPT and see if they come out correct. I'm even going to say that. I'm going to say don't even believe nothing that I have presented. Put it in the chat or GPT and see if how it comes out. It's a challenge for zombies. I know. It's against your nature to do any kind of research. I get it. But this is over here in this chat, we got to come with the facts. The one thing you cannot continue to say is the host is lying, specifically if you haven't done any research. I'm encouraging everyone to do research. Everyone, right? Simply put, this is simple, plain and simple. It's extremely harmful to repeat this kind of exaggeration that Charlie Kirk and Crowder about white on black and black on white, white on black, white, white, black, black. It's extremely harmful to keep saying these statistics, specifically when those statistics are skewed or lie. Those numbers get put out into the air. They get put out into the air, and they shape how people think, who they fear, who they blame. Because all the zombies seem to think all of their ills, all of the harm that's going on in the country, all of the shit show that is going on in the country is black people's fault. Oh, I forgot to ask y'all. I need you zombies to put into the chat, why did you all threaten the HBCUs the day after Charlie Kirk got shot? I need y'all to put that in the chat. Why did you vote? Why did you blame the HBCUs and give them a threat? I would like to know that. If you zombies are bold enough to say. And two, I need you to tell me what the big beautiful bill has done for your pathetic life. I need to know what the big beautiful bill has done for the average Joe between 30,000 and 150,000. I need to know that. I want to know those two things. I'm just saying, I want to know what it did for you. What are you getting out of this vote for Donald Trump? One. And for two, why did it? No. We don't want to hear what you're saying, Osmo's God. The question I asked was, why did you zombies, feel the need to threaten the HBCUs a day after Charlie Kirk got shot? I'll go back to the regular scheduled program and you figure out what happened. And then put it in the chat. Please and thank you. Hit the like button, the subscribe button. We have this content all the time. We're going to have a show tonight. Tonight, the show is going to be about the black MAGA. The black people who are MAGAs. I want the black MAGAs to show up and tell me why they voted for what they're voted for. Why do they vote for a party that doesn't care one way? Well, see, that party, the Republican Party, don't care about you ordinary trash white folks. So I know they don't care about the black folks. I know they don't care about them. But I'm trying to figure out why the black MAGA seems to think that they do. And what does the black MAGA get out of voting for that party? But I just want to know. I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking the question. Okay? Why did they threaten the HBCUs the day after Charlie Kirk got killed? Yeah, put it in the chat, somebody, please. Put it in the chat. So anyway, back to this. By putting those numbers in the air, by putting those numbers out there, they shape how people think and feel and fear other races. Because the normal, everyday, average black person ain't thought about white folks like that. We're not trying to have any race war. We're not trying to be mad at you. We're not even mad at you. We just don't care enough to concern enough about anything else other than our day-to-day lives. Okay? So when someone with a big platform like Charlie Kirk and Steven Crowder spreads disinformation, specifically stats, it just feeds the division that we have amongst us. Okay? And then everybody becomes suspicious of other races. Right now, we finna go down a rabbit hole. No, I'm sorry, we ain't finna go down a rabbit hole. We are down the rabbit hole with you zombies who pulled us down this rabbit hole. So now we got to do what we got to do. Oh yeah, I keep telling y'all, you better stock up on your canned goods. You better stock up on your rice and your beans. You better stock up on a whole bunch of stuff because we finna go through it. In the next couple of months, we finna go through it. So it is what it is. No, I need y'all to put in the chat what this big, beautiful bill did for you poor people. I need to know what the big, beautiful bill did for the poor people. Y'all say, hey, we Republicans, what? Hey, y'all pulled us down this fucking hole. Tell us what the bill did to help any number one of us. I would love to know. So anyway, the truth is that most violent crime happens within its own racial group. Okay? Within its own racial group. Because people usually commit crimes out of opportunity. And they commit crimes with people that they interact with. Okay? Painting a whole race of people as violent and dangerous, it ain't just wrong. It's fucking dangerous. Why? Why? Because I need you to put in the chat why they threatened them HBCUs the day after Charlie Kirk got killed. That's what I need you to put in the chat. That's what I need you to put in the chat. Why you zombies felt the need to threaten the HBCUs a day after Charlie Kirk got killed. Painting an entire race as violent and dangerous is wrong, and it's very dangerous. It stirred up that hate. It fuels the stereotypes, and it makes real progress in race relations and safety and unity damn near impossible. I'm confused. I ain't confused. I need y'all to become unconfused. I need you to become unconfused. Because as long as you zombies are confused, we're going to be down this damn rabbit hole. No, I'm not rage baiting. I just want to know why. Because ain't nobody been... I've asked that question since the week Charlie Kirk died. I've asked that one question. Why did you feel the need to threaten the HBCUs when it was a white boy and the chances of it being a white boy were high? Why did you go over and threaten the HBCUs? I just want to know. I just want to know why y'all threaten me? I ain't got nothing to do with y'all. Y'all white boy did that. Y'all religious white boy did that. Why you felt the need to come over and threaten us? Yeah, I got my medication going, Osmo. I got my medication going. I know you know about medication. I understand that you do. So what needs to change is honesty and accountability. If you're going to talk about this crime, you need to use the full context, not cherry pick 13 to 50, etc., etc. You can't use statistics to scare and divide people. Okay? That's not what's supposed to happen. We're not going to tolerate that kind of bullshit anymore. Media figures and politicians should tell people where the numbers come from and explain what they meant. Charlie just came and started spouting numbers. Crowder just came and started spouting the same numbers, which were lies, which Media Man just showed you where those numbers that they were talking about came from. Re-listen to this live, and it will tell you where the numbers came from that Charlie Kirk was spitting, that Steven Crowder was spitting. I didn't spit any numbers. I didn't say anything. I'm finding this information out just like him. Okay. So people like Charlie Kirk and Steven Crowder should be able to explain where they got their statistics from, but they didn't. They were in a barbershop spitting facts, and they didn't have anybody checking them real time. Okay. They have to separate the facts from the feelings. And by the way, you say black fatigue, we have white fatigue. We've been have white fatigue. Just kidding. So you can't use 1 year's crime report or a single incident of rage and a crash out from a human being and make a sweeping claim about black people. Because that's what y'all do. A lot of y'all do that. A lot of people, they get one or two instances from a race, and then they don't have no statistics to back up what they say. When I say 77% of the violence in this country, political violence, is coming from the right, that's backed by statistics from the FBI, a report that Donald Trump got commissioned. Those stats are backed up by facts. When I say 77% of the violence comes from the right, okay? I wouldn't definitively stand on that if I would not have found the facts, seen the facts. And there's plenty of reports that substantiate what I'm saying. But when people say 15% of the population does 50% of the crime, we already know that's a lie. Because 15% encompasses, or 13% encompasses 13 all black people. And most of us are not violent. It's only a small percentage of us that are violent. So I knew as soon as I heard the 13% commit 50% of the crime, I knew that was a lie. So I set out to find out whether this was a talking point on the right side or whether it was the truth. And come to find out, it was a talking point on the right side. I get that you don't want to hear it. A lot of white people don't want to hear it. A lot of white people don't want to hear it. Okay? All I'm saying to you, and I'm saying to you, if you don't believe what I'm saying go do your own research. Go to the FBI statistics. Go to any statistics that you like. Put it in Chat GPT. Put it in AI. Put it in what is his name? The goofy retard. What's his name? Elon Musk. Put it in his Grok. Do all the things that you feel that you need to do in order to find out the truth. But don't come in the chat saying I'm a lie or somebody's a lie and you haven't done your own research. Because that's zombie shit. Okay? That's zombie shit. We need to be more responsible about reporting trends, root causes of poverty, why people steal, what they do, opportunity, skin color, all of those things. We need to be honest about those things. When you tell the truth about it, Googling. When you did the truth about it, it presents opportunity to talk. But if you lie, you don't do anything but make enemies of the people that you're talking to. Hey, these are stats that people these are stats that people don't like. I get that people don't like it. But you can't disprove the stats unless you present stats yourself. You all hit the like button, the share button, the sub button. Please and thank you. We will be back here later on this evening around 10 o'clock with a Black MAGA. We want to hear from the Black MAGA, the white MAGA. We want to hear from the MAGA people. We want to know what's going on in the Black MAGA, in the MAGA crowd. What's going on? Okay. What's going on? You guys still supporting the goofiness, are you? But that's okay. I understand zombies stand on squares. Zombies stand on squares for real. It is what it is. So the truth matters now more than ever. Now more than ever, because we're going through a transition. This president took us down this rabbit hole. This president took us down this rabbit hole, this racial rabbit hole. This president has been more racial than any president in our history. Any president in our history. And he's brought it to the surface because a lot of you racist people are showing your prejudice now. You're showing it now. So getting the right statistics out here is extremely important. Every time a false claim or a twisted stat can push someone closer to it can push them towards violence and hatred. I still need to know why a zombie called up the HBCU and threatened black people when it was a white boy who killed one of you white boys. I still would like to know what that is. Nobody has put it in the chat. What is the truth? Why did you call up? It wasn't even 24 hours. And you all called up the HBCUs and threatened black folk when one of your precious human beings got killed. I still need one of you zombies to put it in the chat as to why they called up the HBCUs and threatened black folks. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. See, if we keep spreading this fear and this hate instead of facts, we just gonna tear us apart every day, all day, every day. But we got to insist on the truth. We got to insist on the truth. If we challenge these lies, no matter who says them, and see, the thing is, this is the problem. The left is always trying to challenge everybody, but it's the right when they don't stand on nothing. You right people don't stand on nothing. You just believe whatever your head of your party says. The head of your party says shit turn green. When you put your tongue on it, y'all gonna believe it. Y'all gonna believe it. That's the problem. Instead of doing your own fact check, you all believe everything your site, everything that comes out of this White House, you believe it without any fact check. That's when you believe everything that comes from your party, when your party says something and you fall in line lockstep, you're a zombie. You're a zombie. That's why I call you Republican zombies, because you believe everything that the right says. Instead of fact checking, instead of looking things up, instead of listening to diverse views, you believe everything they tell you. You're a zombie. But that's okay. We got to have zombies on this planet. We got to have zombies on this planet. So, we got to have zombies. Okay? We got to start telling the truth about this violence, race, and crime. And telling the truth doesn't mean that you're anti-white or anti-black. It makes you pro-truth, pro-peace, and pro-human. No, that's where you got it wrong, Adam. That's why we didn't have all of our people come out and vote for Kamala, because we are a diverse group. We don't believe everything our administration says. We don't believe everything our bosses say. You all believe everything your right say. Y'all don't do no fact check. Y'all don't do. They will say the Republicans is demons. I got some of y'all in here calling Republicans demons. I got some of y'all in here calling Republicans evil. And not now one of y'all did no fact checking. Not now one of y'all. I got people in this chat. I got you right people in the chat saying all black people are violent. And not now one of y'all did no fact check. And you heard that from your leaders. So I know y'all zombies. That's what I mean by zombie. When you don't do research. When you don't try to fact check anything. Not go to your side. Not go to Fox News and hear what you want to hear. Go to the other side. Go to Chat GPT. Go to Grok. Go to AI and find out the truth. Not listen to the zombie talking points. That when I say zombie, that's what I mean. Zombies. The only way we're going to make it through this if we try to do some fact checking and we try to listen to the truth, hear the truth, find the truth. It doesn't matter who runs them. All 10 of the sites, all the AIs are not left. All the AIs, AI fact check are not left. Where did you get this? Where did you get the idea that everything that you check is left? Is the left side? Everything is liberal. Everything is Democrat. Everything is lie. They lie. All them sites lie. The FBI lie. Everybody lying. Everybody is lying except your precious leader. That means you're a zombie. If you come in here and you say everything I say is a lie, everything the FBI says is a lie, everything anybody says against what you think is a lie, you're a zombie. And when I hear people talk, I go fact check myself. And I listen to the left and the right to see who's lying. That's how I know the Republicans are lying about being able to open the government, because they're lying. And that's how I know they're lying about immigrant medical insurance. Because I did my own fact check, and you know what I found out? I found out that the Republicans can open the government without the Democrats. They just don't want to. The Senate can do a cloture vote. Look up what a cloture vote is. And the House can change a resolution bill from one type of resolution bill to another type of resolution bill, and they can open the government. They don't want to. Has nothing to do with health care. That's how I know you're zombies if you haven't figured that out yet. They can open the government if they want to. They just don't want to. They don't give a damn about us one way or the other, Republican or Democrat. But at least the Democrats hides it better. The Republicans ain't trying to hide it. Do all the fact checking. Because if you come in and you're telling me that AI doesn't work, it's lefty, FBI is lefty, everybody's lying, Democrats are demons. When you come in here and say that, you're a zombie. Because you haven't done any kind of fact checking. Do your research. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying believe me. I'm not saying believe anything I say. What I am saying is do your own research. Stop believing everything you hear. Okay? You said most, not all. I understand that it's most, not all, Adam. I understand that. But somehow, some way, most right people, most MAGA people, most people who come in here and listen to what I'm saying automatically says I'm a liar. And they haven't done any fact checking. All I'm saying is fact check what anybody tells you. Don't believe what the administration, what Trump is saying. Stop believing it because they're lying. You know how I know they don't care about the regular, normal, everyday man? Is because we're in a shutdown. Are we not? And they're still giving money to Israel, Egypt, and Argentina. They're still giving them money. And we're sitting here suffering, but they're still getting their money. That's how I know they don't believe in us first. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. Just fact check stuff. Stop believing it. Please hit the like button, the share button, the stream button. I would appreciate subs. I'd appreciate the like button. We have content like this every day. Tonight we will be back. We will have a subject later on at 10 o'clock tonight. And hopefully you all will be there. I will be back. I appreciate you all showing up. The subs, the share, the likes, please and thank you. We keep suffering from Down syndrome, Mark. Stop being mad at us because your wife has a peen. Stop being mad at us because your wife has a peen. You see what I'm talking about, people? They come in and they want to insult. Instead of talking and having a regular conversation, this person comes in every time he comes in. His name is Mark R. 9193. He comes in every time and he says, Michelle Obama has a peen, or Democrats are suffering from Down syndrome. He has no kind of conversation. He's a zombie. It's another zombie that I got to deal with. But I appreciate it. Wish they would hold congressional pay. If they're going to give Egypt their money, they're going to give Israel their money, and they're going to give Argentina their money, that means they're not putting us first. Okay. And yet she had 2 babies. Make it make sense. Now we got retarded people in the goddamn chat talking about a man has a baby. Retarded people in the chat. But here it is. I appreciate y'all. Hit the sub, hit the like, hit the share. I will be back at around 10 o'clock. We'll have another subject and we'll have call in. So you can call in and then cuss me out then. We got to do what we got to do. What is a woman? I don't know, Osmos. If you're dealing with a woman, you would know, or you should know what a woman is. If you don't know, maybe you taking it up the ass. I'll talk to y'all later. I see y'all around 10 o'clock. I appreciate y'all. Hit the like, hit the share. Do all that good stuff. Do all that good stuff. Please and thank you. Please and thank you.